especially because Fly is somewhat of a weak link in this regard. We've seen Gory play control mages exceptionally well, but also the Akali, right? We know he can play even Yone if it comes up, right? This is where Nongshim have an extremely wide berth of champions they can play right now in a best of 5, and why they're really going to come online, I think, in a series like this. Even if they fall behind, you can adapt so well, whereas Afrika are going to really have to play around Fly and his champion pools, and Nar gets banned.
I'm like, yeah, I was watching the highlights of their last series before this cast, obviously, but it feels like Nongshim were as well. They were like, we don't want to deal with Xin Zhao Lulu, and we do not want to deal with Keen's Gnar. Those are two things that absolutely will not get through here in this first game.
Certainly. Lee Sin targeted here as well. Because you
know?
have the wider jungle pool, I think, as Peanut. You want to play that style, take away some of the strong early game junglers.
Yeah, and it's the jungler that Dread stomped them in the early game of Game 2 in their last series with. He went 3-0 in like 7 minutes, and you know, just a lot of focus being put on that and saying, okay, we're gonna play a different game here, at least for Game 1.
Yeah, you see Renekton get taken away here. The Jace ban is very common to see on red side nowadays, but it's also one of Rich's favorites. So we don't have that common blue side Lee Sin pick. You don't have the Xin Zhao here, nor the Renekton. Like, this is going to be a pretty statement pick here for Nongshim stylistically here going into this best of 5. When all the common first picks are gone, like, we could see something like a Viego, but that would be a very bold, and I like this a lot more. Even with the nerf, still an extremely strong pick.
Yeah, absolutely, and you just took Xin Zhao and Lee Sin off the board, so you're saying, okay, here we go. No bans towards Peanut, give him extreme comfort, and we'll go from there. Diana definitely a champ that can require some building around, but in terms of comfort, I think it's great for what Nongshim can bring.
Do you see the Varus locked in here for Leo? See if they want to grab a support with this early. The Leona is the highest tier pick right now. Often blind, sometimes even without an AD carry. I don't know if we'll necessarily see that continue to be the case on this patch, but time will tell. There's other options are, you know, really to hone in on Fly's champion pool here early. Maybe something like a Rise. Yep, that's what they hover, because that's going to give you a lot of late game power. Also, Rise is great into Diana and other combos of melee champions that work with Diana. We saw Rise, no pun intended, to popularity when Diana's set was at its peak, right? And we saw Lee Sin in soul lanes, Nocturne in soul lanes. And so I think it's a great choice here.
Curious to see what they go for in terms of Gory's pick, if they decide to go for it just yet. They're going to take the Leona you mentioned. If you want to target the mid lane and try to get Gory a good matchup, you could go for some kind of control mage like a Syndra, like an Orianna, but at the same time, that's double AP already. Leona down on the bottom side as well.
Yeah.
So maybe they just go ahead and pick an AD carry, also an option. Or they can just do this.
This is exactly what I'm talking about, though. We saw them play this, you know, just recently in the end of regular season, and this is something that they've played oftentimes in the past, and something they've very well practiced. And, you know, it's, again, sometimes it felt desperate when they did it, but this time it feels very calculated, and it's a matchup you can play well into the Rise, suits the damage profile. And these are the scary things that you have to think about as a Afrika when you're drafting against this team, because Fly was not going to be able to make this type of choice later on in this best of 5. You don't expect, based on what we've seen, as Alistar will get locked in here in the bottom lane. Very high prio for that.
34% win rate on Alistar so far. Pretty interesting to see him that low, but definitely an answer, a response to what we are seeing from the side of Nongshim in terms of breaking up plays, combos, wombo combos, kind of a reactive support in that way. And we are going to see Ezreal be taken off alongside Trundle, like that pick.
Yeah, and another great option here potentially could be the Aphelios. It is not the most synergistic with his composition right now, but does work towards late game. It's Duckdom's most successful champion. So definitely sits in the same sort of vein as the Ezreal.
What is going to be the final ban? Will it just be another AD carry? Yes.
Lista.
The Lista Again, another thing that can go very wombo combo-y with the combo that they already have.
Oh, yeah, it's insane what she could do. Fate's Call going to set up that Yasuo ultimate with the Diana ult. They have so much long-range engage with this. So, the final ban here for Nongshim is a tough call. Could just look towards the jungle. They actually decided to take the Kennen away instead, though.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they can disrupt this composition very well.
Absolutely. Kennen, you know, we all know him for flank engage type of plays, but also if every single enemy champion is in your face, Slicing Maelstrom gets a huge amount of damage done and a decent amount of peel as well. So it's great passively, kind of reactively as well.
Olaf is so good in this comp, actually, because he can walk through so much. Sejuani as well, very strong here. Slow is going to be super valuable into this style of composition. And this is where we're going to get a little bit niche here, Valdez.
Yeah,
you know?
really interesting that they're putting Dread onto a Sejuani. Can be active, but generally known for, obviously, throwing out her ultimate. And there's not a lot of melee, so we're looking at potentially a melee topside carry for Keen, something like a Camille, you would have to imagine.
Yeah.
And Nongshim have to keep that in mind as they do pick up the Ziggs for the bottom lane.
It's going to be very frustrating to deal with this Ziggs that is going to scale up very well late on into the game. This would be insane. I don't think that's actually ever going to come in.
No, I don't think
get
so.
excited. Don't get excited, Phantom. There was a time where he was insanely strong.
Whoa.
But not for solo lanes. As Irelia
Whoa.
will be the choice here. So there's a lot of front-loaded power in this composition, and I don't know if I actually like this pick, to be totally honest with you. I like it for Rich. It's a champion he plays extremely well. However, you know, into the amount of slows and peels that Afrika have already set up, it's going to be very difficult to team fight with this Irelia. I think Nongshim are just going so all in on this. You can't stop everything from coming through. Can you stop the Irelia and the Diana and the Yasuo from getting in there while Ziggs is launching bombs through? It's very oppressive. It's very difficult to play against, but
It's chaos.
it's chaotic, but Afrika have already drafted around it very well. You know, they have a lot of slows and roots here. Now the Viego stun on top of it all. And if Viego gets a steal, if he actually gets a reset with this composition, Afrika are going to pop off. And it's Keen, of all players, who's going to be playing that one.
And it's interesting that Aurelia pick that comes through at the end. I wonder if it was a bit of a takeaway as well, because I definitely could have seen Aurelia on the side of Afrika as well for Keen. Just throwing him up in the top side, something that can throw a Vanguard's Edge straight into your face if you do decide to engage. So instead he will go for the Viego. Viego definitely was kind of hanging out there as what seemed to be an obvious pick, as he's still pretty high tier. And so Keen will jump back onto that, as a lot of highlight plays were made on the champions that the various players were able to pick up here in Game 1.
Yeah. I really do feel like for Afrika, I mean, the comp that you can look at here for Nongshim is so self-explanatory. It's insanely high speed, aggressive dive you, and it has follow-up damage with the Ziggs from behind. So as Afrika, you need to be ready to set up for picks when those dives come through. If Aurelia is going to try to set up a flank angle, maybe turn. Maybe actually try to pick her off first, then look to 5v4 the fight. Because setting up poke is pretty difficult to do when you're Leo in this game, because you're going to be at risk of being blown up or caught at any moment. But if you can get that one single pick when the engage comes through, or if the engages are sloppy from Nongshim, it is you know, definitely winnable here for Afrika. And I think the mid game is, I think, where Afrika are going to really have to hit their stride, because in the late game it just becomes too much. Like, Gory could just teleport into the middle of a huge wombo and just be like, everybody's dead, sorry, what's up?
Yeah, it's very true. I like the damage profile that Nongshim were able to bring, picking up the Ziggs and the Aurelia towards the end. It's an insane amount of damage overall, but at least you have two hard AP champions and a couple of AD ones on the top side. As we saw a little bit of a funky level 1 here from Afrika. They were looking to catch someone out. Important note, guys. You can purchase Frozen Heart, but you can't actually purchase while you're dead and then undo the purchase.
You can't exploit the bug.
Yes.
Is basically the easiest way to put it. So that earlier it said it was banned, but it meant, I was confused by that, which is probably why this is coming up, but I thought it meant that it was banned entirely, but no, that's not the case. If you undo the purchase at a certain timing, you actually can leave a slow on the ground. So just got to make sure that's not a thing that people can do.
Gory doing the solo queue thing, just right in your face. Right from level 1, he's going to take a lot of damage based off of that. Gory's stats as a mid laner, as you guys saw in the points of the match stats that we did have come up, they're not very good. I think he was like level, or rather 10th place in a lot of the stats in terms of like gold difference and experience difference. But where this guy's power comes in is his ability to carry mid to late game fights. And again, fits in perfectly with Nongshim as a team.
He often takes excessive risks in lane, and it's something that we don't talk about too much because he's a very successful player regardless. So sometimes when this does come up, it's kind of a weird issue because, yeah, his stats aren't great. Like, he's the anti-Chovy, right? Like, he's not doing well farm-wise, he's not doing well in lane, but his team fights and his rotations are incredibly good. And sometimes he gets ahead because of getting just a little bit of extra prio in mid, then going to a Rift Herald fight and upturning that fight and getting a lot of gold that way. That's one way that he often advances forward, but that's why you see him on these champions like the Yasuo and the Yone every now and then, because he's just got such a good knack for carrying team fights and reacting to Peanut's plays, because the shot calling on this team is so fantastic. As remember the last time this was played, it was an incredible triple kill in the mid lane where Peanut comes in and ults and Gory's there to catch it, saves himself, and they end up picking up 3. These are the moments where he shines.
Yeah. And it was a gank that you thought, okay, this guy's dead, right? It started off 1v3. It was a roam from the bottom side from Lehens, and it was just like, okay. Or actually, I don't know if that was Afrika, but it was another team, and they ganked him, and he turned it around immediately. And it was pretty crazy. It was one of the highlights I was mentioning. That one, also Peanut with his Moonfall with the Diana being another big one. Keen and his Viego popping up in the points of the match highlights that we saw. A lot of comfort here in this game for sure. Very curious about the Sejuani for Dread, as you would imagine the top lane will be one of those lanes that he will be looking to put pressure on with the melee champion of Viego.
Yeah, that is definitely important, and we'll see what the impact he can make in this game becomes. He is going to get double scuttle advantage here because of Peanut's pathing. He's going to get away with double here. Prio that is guaranteed with that in mid. And Peanut's over here is spotted on a ward.
Oh, Dread snuck in here. They don't know he's here.
Peanut has a good idea because he sees the scuttle, and
yeah,
even with that Q not connecting, he knows what's up. They should.
Does he, though? Doesn't look like he does, and now Kellen's going to get engaged upon here. The satchel helps out, and Kellen still has his flash, and will wait until the last possible moment. Now Dread getting a little bit too close, and the Crescent coming in, and the bomb will be enough, and that will be Ducktom picking up first blood down in the bottom side as Peanut goes for the extended counter game.
Yeah, this is just worst case scenario for Afrika, considering the information that Nongshim didn't gather, the advantage you had there set up, but you're Sejuani in this case. You know, a lot of other jungles end up making a bigger play here, do a lot more damage. Unfortunately, Dread's just not at that stage as Gory.
Gory might die here. The flash comes in, and there it is, 1E to rule them all, as Fly will shore up the stuff here for his team. After his team gives up first blood, Fly gets a solo kill. Not the thing I thought I would be saying.
Yeah, no, certainly not. And that's a lot of extra farm he's going to pick up here too. But still very significant here that Ducktom was able to get all that extra money. They did have to trade 2 flashes for this. And Afrika, with the scuttle advantage, are actually going to sneak away this streak right now. Gory just teleported back to lane. Peanut could Scryer's bloom this.
Yeah, there were a couple of pings, and I think they know what's happening, but with the bottom lane leaving, do you want to go in on this one? Peanut's on vision, and Lehens is getting pretty low, and now with the teleport coming in, this is Ziggs that's teleporting in, and the Hex Flash over the wall will not be enough. And they get spotted here on the Drake take, and now Nongshim will get the Infernal. And how about a solo kill from Rich over Keen? What am I watching?
Oh, you're watching Afrika fall apart here in this early game. And let's not forget, this is where Afrika are at their strongest, historically speaking. And I think you can really start to feel Dread being on a slightly lower impact jungle here in the early game is affecting them a lot. But it's the power of the Ziggs, really, and that extra damage and his ability to do damage over walls that's actually gotten him 2 kills. Now Rich is proc and conquering. He's ready for more.
He had Vanguard's Edge. I'm like, man, he could go for that again if he wanted to.
And Keen does have Flash and Heartbreaker, so he decides to think better. He's happy with the trade he gets, the advantage that's going to be garnered there. Oh man, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm not sure which replays we'll get, if any, because this game is so action-packed.
Yeah.
But we'll watch this moment. So this is where Peanut walked on a ward, and then Dread comes out here. He knows that the Peanut is very far away, but they're not able to secure the kill because the Zenith Blade actually allows Kellen to get out here, and then the flash forward is so beautiful. You end up having to use 2 flashes here, but Duckdom is able to connect, and that's a kill. Then this is the error in the mid lane from Gory because he mistimes his knockup. So, and then decides to chase further and ends up getting rooted. That's all you need. And you can see the call out here. Fly's like not too enthused about it, but does end up winning out there as we'll watch.
How
Rich.
about this? Yeah. Rich's perspective lands the flawless duet and just runs him down.
Yeah, he's fully stacked on his Q.
You can tell he's so excited. He's like, I got him!
The one replay we didn't watch, which was Duckdom's teleport, was teleporting onto a ward that was pre-placed there moments before for a potential scenario like this. Peanut's able to identify. They know the Drake is there, but he Scryer's Blooms, checks, and they had one ward there teleporting into it with like 4 seconds left on its time. Like the ward was about to time out. These are small advantages that you have on the map that give you such a huge lead when those kills come through. Duckdom getting 2 of them, and this is a disaster for Afrika.
Yeah, it makes this early game for Ziggs a million times better. I mean, able to turn that one around, really frees up the lane. It was like 17-7 in favor of the Varus Alistar. And now, I mean, he's kind of catching up here. We see that Afrika is going for this Rift Herald, but Gnome definitely cannot let this one go. I think they were just trying to sneak it away. Because Dread will just smite. He gets the better smite here off of that play, and he just says, okay, maybe we can use that for the next fight.
Yeah, Duckdom doesn't have teleport, is going to back here after clearing that wave. And Afrika not really able to get the Herald nor gain any advantages on the map, unfortunately, outside of that, because they don't have enough control over the top side, even with Dread lurking here. Now, this is a bit of a bait.
Yeah. They're trying to take advantage of Rich here as the stun, the flawless duet will entirely miss. Rich with the flash away, but the follow-up from Keen will be enough as Dread secures the kill with his ultimate just to make sure that no Aurelia shenanigans do come up.
Rich does have teleport. He did not use it, actually, whereas Keen did, so he can teleport straight to the Rift Herald fight if Afrika decided to try to look for that, so they, in fact, cannot, despite the kill. It's really unfortunate. I mean, it's nice to get all that extra gold back, but you're still just not able to get this really important objective, and as you can see, it's just going to be cleaned up here. Nongshim getting this one for free. Rich teleporting to the top side of the map to grab that farm, and despite these picks for Afrika, neither of them come at an opportune moment to actually gain anything from it, which just really hurts.
Yeah, just the immediate gold, and they're doing it on Vision, our Nongshim, and Afrika know about it, so there's not much they can do about it, just have to accept it, as Peanut will pick up that Rift Herald. You can see, I mean, any Nongshim game, I think, against Afrika, where Rich is able to get a solo kill and Nongshim can get a lead, it's generally going to be a very high chance of winning for Nongshim. Again, doesn't mean it's done by any means. Still very early on in this game, but also the Infernal Drake was picked up by them. And in their last series as well, Nongshim were ahead in Game 1 for about 30 minutes before Afrika were able to turn that one around. So
yeah, it was very uncharacteristic of both of those teams and how they normally function, as you pointed out earlier. So it's never over till it's over, but the advantages that Nongshim have right now with the comp that does extremely well in late game because of its setup for team fights, and of course the Ziggs factor, which we always have to discuss even with the nerf, is just insane. So once again, Keen being threatened here, but this time under turret. Rich can't push the issue this far because that's the first trade. And Afrika, on the map right now, they really want to get any advantage they can, possibly. You know, the bot lane is still pushing, so like, okay, we're going to guarantee this Scuttle goes in. Like, we have to group. We cannot give Nongshim any more gold right now. We can't give them any more vision control. We'll clear this ward.
everybody's grouping up here for this potential dragon fight. And it does mean that we will have either Ocean or Mountain Soul, and both of them are going to be huge in this game. Both teams will want both. And so we should see a lot of fighting over this objective, you would have to imagine. As Lehens and Dread now moving as a unit, coming on in here. And it is spotted. Peanut going to take this time to move up to the top side, maybe drop that Rift Herald and help Rich get even more fed here.
That's the idea. This is actually a really scary moment for Keen. He does have Heartbreaker available, but he doesn't have vision on Peanut. There's no wards here whatsoever. He knows the possibility is there, but this is huge for Nongshim if they get this.
Fly's TP. And I think the second they see Peanut, they could call for it in the top side. There it is. Fly coming up here, as well as Gory, I believe. As yes, it's going to be a 3-on-2 flash away from the Moonfall, but now they're just diving on the Fly, and he can't do anything to get away. And Keen, same for him, trying to get the resets, but he cannot, as Rich will go down, but it's still a huge win for Nongshim.
Yeah, and they're going to grab the whole turret with this Rift Herald, and the solo Cloud Drake on the opposite side of things isn't going to be as impactful. I mean, the ability to grab away that tempo from Nongshim would be heading towards now a Mountain Soul, and Soul Point on the follow-up Drake is pretty huge, as I don't know about this commitment here. I don't think you win this fight. You're going to need somebody else here.
A lot of cooldowns and flashes down, and now a teleport from Duckdom is coming on in, but now we got everybody joining in. Keen trying to get back in the fight, and they're isolating Peanut. A lot of damage done with the bomb, but that's fine. Keen a little bit isolated himself, and Peanut's still not dead, but Keen on a little bit of a rampage, and it looks like Nongshim may have overstepped here just a bit. That's 2 kills. Now over to the side of Keen, and Leo's getting free farm here.
Yeah, he's going to get an extra plate here for free, solo, so 160 gold goes to him. And this is a huge overextension from Nongshim. Like, you can't win this 2v2 necessarily, as we're going to watch the replay of this first, as Keen has a beautiful flash to dodge the Moonfall, but it's just a little, or it's actually Fly who dodges, it's not Keen, but it's just a little too late, right, in the arrival, as it is a 3v2. Rich does end up going down here despite some, you know, trying to hit those minions to stay alive. As in this scenario, the positioning is just so good. Like, Dread is able to zone this out so well, and he's extremely tanky even at this stage. Every part of this for Afrika is so well played, and Nongshim lose teleport here, advantage for Duckdom, and just a lot of gold going over, really shoring up the disadvantage you had from losing the turret in itself.
It's pretty gigantic. It's a really nice XP leap here for Keen as well. It was basically a Viego playground, right? He's teleporting into 3 people that are scattering around with no flashes and no ability to get away from him. He's going to have a fun time. As Kellen, a little bit of a face check, and all of a sudden this game turning around, but is it the stopwatch fate? We got the Wombo combo coming in from the Yasuo and the Diana, but it's still not enough to kill anybody, as down will go Kellen. Afrika will play it safe.
I don't think that was an intentional bait, but, you know, they almost tricked us into believing in it, right? But even still with the combo there, you don't have enough damage at this stage of the game to actually just go, okay, well, it's cool, because even though our Leona is extremely low, we're going to completely turn this fight. Not to be the case, and now that's a stopwatch down. Afrika still, you know, end up getting a bunch of extra gold here. Now they're 300 in the lead. And this game is really starting to flip quite a bit. As, yes, you still have great late-game team fights here as Nongshim. You do have good scaling with the Ziggs, but you've given Afrika a chance to kind of coast through this early to mid-game, given them a lot of extra gold they shouldn't realistically have, given the advantages you had early on. It's just giving them a really nice window back into the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's not something you want when you're facing the Viego and the Rise specifically. Just giving them a lot of gold to actually be useful, as they saw Peanut. I mean, they saw him use his ability, right? So they call his bluff immediately. They say, he's probably in here. Let me dash into this brush. And that's just another free kill that's given over to Afrika. Nongshim are like, here's the buffet platter. You guys can have whatever you want.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Nongshim, this comp works best in skirmishy situations where Afrika are on even players with them or less, or somebody's caught out of position. But when Afrika are continuing to group non-stop, it's really difficult for Nongshim to actually make these types of plays happen. And Peanut shouldn't have been there. He gets seen and just immediately gets picked. This is the same thing that happened with Kellen just moments before. You were extremely ahead, and sometimes you want to play around vision, sometimes you want to hide in a brush and make a play, make a flank because you're ahead. But when you end up just walking 1 into 3, as we are seeing, it's a big problem, and you're giving a ton of extra gold over.
Yeah, important distinction. Okay, we're going to look at this fight first.
Yeah, 1 into 3, again, as I was saying, Kellen does use his stopwatch here, and you have the combo follow-up, but I don't think this was intended from the beginning, because as you could see, they don't even go down to half health. As once again, they saw Peanut,
Yeah.
Go in, let's check the bush, and he just gets the knock up there instantly.
And the important distinction, you know, I was mentioning like, oh, I mean, of course he was seen, but Peanut doesn't know there's a ward in that brush, right? So he doesn't know that he was seen. So actually, it was a nice setup play there from Afrika to say, okay, we know he's there, but he doesn't know we're here, and we can take advantage of this.
For sure. Gotta be so careful when you don't know where Afrika are on the map, as Noshim will have the faster group here, instantly timed with the spawn of this Drake, and their combo is ready. All 5 ultimates for them are up. And Afrika are just not gonna let this, or not gonna fight this, not gonna let this, or not going to contest this rather, they are gonna let this go because Keen doesn't have teleport. He can't join the fight. The wave was pushing top, he lost his turret, so.
Okay, here we go. That's going to be a flawless do that, but look at that, the tip of the Everfrost, and now we have everybody grouping up here, and that should be enough. Down he will go as Fly pulling off a couple of really nice picks in this game so far. Quiet otherwise, but certainly doing his job in this one.
Yeah, the Everfrost, as you mentioned, just barely connects with Rich there, but it's still an aggressive play that has a very high chance of working out there, because even if you don't hit him with the Everfrost, you can collapse in there and look for the pick. So this turns into a ton of extra gold for Keen on the top side of the map. Drop the Rift Herald in. Gonna get an extra charge here, and this is inner turret gold now that Afrika are threatening. This is a pretty impressive start, considering where we were, you know, 5 to 7 minutes into the game. The comeback has been insane here for Afrika. They're making more proactive plays than we normally see them do at this stage, and they've even done it while behind. They really just know how to play around this stage. Wani picks so extremely well. They're grouping often. They're looking for skirmishes because Nongshim, like I was saying before, they like to skirmish when they're on even numbers so they can set up the combo. But when these players get caught off one by one, Rich getting caught, Callan catching himself arguably, and then Peanut just not knowing about the ward there, solo, you will get blown up.
Yeah. And it's pretty interesting. I like Afrika's chances, especially from ahead, if they can just kind of deathball, as you're talking about, grouping up together. It's really rough if you're only going to catch, like, Alistar and Sejuani with the Diana-Yasuo combo. Yeah, it'll look pretty cool, but you're not going to do a whole lot of damage. And then you have to deal with Ryze, who loves soaking pressure, the Viego as well. If it does get skirmishy, he's going to love that. The Varus, if he can have room and survive, I think Afrika will almost always win if he can survive that first Wombo combo. And if they're behind, I think it'll be a bit more difficult for Afrika to just run straight in and engage. But in terms of soaking pressure, they have a lot in this comp.
Look at all the damage that Fly is doing here to Gory. Unfortunately, just a sitting duck onto this turret. They don't know where Dread is. Keen has teleport. You have to be so careful right now. The teleport advantage that Afrika's had for a really long time now with these coming up is really scary, because even though they haven't used them yet, the threat of the teleport means that Nongshim have to play so passively right now. Dread going in.
Yeah, he really has no fear, just running straight into the brush, and now there's going to be 4 of them. 5 make it as the engage comes in. They get the Wombo combo. There's the damage the Vanguard says as well. But still, it's 2 members of Nongshim that went down first. Fly survives, Dread is still alive, and now it's Viego's playground again. Rich, he's trying to make the play. Heartbreaker not going to do too much, but the CC is there once again, and they have it in spades. Meanwhile, Leo's mid alone again.
Yeah, Leo's going in the mid, and he's going to get a bunch of extra gold here once this turret falls down, not to mention the extra minions he's getting right now. And Duckdom dying at the beginning of that fight means that Nongshim just can't... Oh, that's a flash burn. But Nongshim can't actually do the damage to finish off those targets. They can get them low, they can have a great setup in the combo, but they're too far behind at this stage. Afrika can actually blow up Duckdom. You have to play that a lot slower. You can't rely on the Wombo combo alone anymore. This is not that type of game. You don't have that insane lead. In fact, you're significantly behind.
Okay, maybe it's Afrika who overstayed this time. Lahen's definitely going to pay the price, but at least Keen does get away. You can see Lahen's not able to get any kind of Hex Flash angle, of course. And so he does get down. They have to use a teleport, though. Or at least they did, as we'll see this play as well.
Yeah, Leo gonna catch Duckdom here, so prevents his teleport from going off, and then just straight up picks him. And he was isolated on the fight. Like, this Duckdom dying means that this fight just can't go well, right?
No follow-up damage.
So, yeah, like, when you watch this scenario unfold, like, Duckdom is trying to teleport so he can get between, he can get on the other side of Lahen's, right? And then when you see this combo come through, look at the health bars of Afrika. that's as low as they're really going to go. Like, Fly has a stopwatch, so he can actually just get out of here. And then suddenly, Viego is like, low health bars for Nongshim. I love that. That's what I'm all about, and it's some of the best champions you can reset with. You know, you get a Yasuo, you get an Aurelia, you're going to have a really fun time. And that pick on the Duck Dom was massive for Leo.
Yeah. I mean, imagine they get that wombo combo again, but then there's the Mega Bomb right on top of your entire team. Like, at least Fly and Dread are immediately dying, right? And it's a totally different fight.
And if Lehens isn't standing exactly where he was to prevent the rotation over from Duck Dom, this would have looked different too, because Duck Dom had to teleport because there was an Alistar in his way. And then that allows Leo to easily interrupt and get that pick. So, great plays all around for Afrika. This is one of their best games we've watched from them in a while, and yeah, they're turning this game around.
And they're really ramping up in recent times. 3 wins in series in a row, and now they're looking for potentially another one here, at least in game 1, as Dread, extremely tanky on the Sejuani. It's not going to be easy. And look at the damage on the Kellen. He just goes down, and Boris gets it, and now we have the wombo combo from Afrika this time, trying to turn it around with the Moonfall, with the Yasuo. But as we've been saying, the damage is just not there anymore. And Afrika from ahead are dominating now.
If there was just a little bit more survivability on Duck Dom, or if he had a little bit more damage, he would live just a little bit longer, this could look totally different once again. But now the walls are closing in on Nongshim. I mean, this is, you can't win this fight, and you had a lot of Drake Cryo here and a perfect setup. I mean, look at where Duck Dom is. He's being zoned out, but he still gets a big ult off. And the combo is kind of in reverse this time, right? Gory goes in first, then you see the Diana ult, the Moonfall is last, but it just doesn't matter when you can't actually get the last part of those health bars down. Gory is not going to do sustained damage. Rise, however, yes he will. Viego, if he gets a reset, yes he will.
Yeah, and he just loves all of these melee champions right in his face from ahead. He's just doing insane amounts. He's up a level here on Gory, and Gory, it's like, well, I don't even know if I want to fight you right now. He's just going to walk away, and that's probably the right call. They just realm warp from mid lane, by the way, as we were watching the replay. Over to Baron, they take it down, and this is extremely early on in the game that Afrika were able to pick up this buff.
Yeah, it's massive. It's crazy how the chips had fallen so in favor of Nongshim, and then Afrika grouped up, and Nongshim kind of ran into a brick wall a few times, overextended, and now suddenly Afrika have a lead, and they're playing it perfectly. And this is so rare for Afrika to see. You know, when you hit that 25-minute mark, that's where things often fall apart, but the way they're controlling the map right now, the way they're clearing vision, and also just looking for setup plays. Like Dread, this is a completely different look for him, right? He's playing a tank here. But at the same time, he's using the fact that he's so tanky to make aggressive plays around vision and to set up, you know, some baits. We're seeing it so many times here from him in this game. He's 3-2-10. He's 13 of their 17 kills. He's been involved in almost everything. Now he's got anathemas, so he's even more difficult to kill.
Absolutely. And, you know, usually we'd see Dread with a lot more kills than assists, but not the case here, as a little bit of potential rotation down. Afrika have pretty much full control of the enemy jungle at this point in time. And you mentioned how Afrika, you know, at around 20 to 25 minutes, that's usually when things begin to fall apart. But now you've got both the Rise and the Viego who are up 2 levels on their opposing laners. This is going to be extremely difficult for Afrika to lose from here on out, as we'll see how they can close it out. They've had trouble with it in the past. But let's take a look. It's okay. Chains come down. Everfrost is barely going to miss.
Not the greatest ult here from Duck Dom, but it's going to be enough to chip these health bars a little bit lower. The problem is you don't have a really strong engage opportunity here right now, and you've got to deal with this Viego that's going to take out another inner turret here. And unfortunately for Nongshim, you know, like, you've got to do something right now, but there's no opportunities with this Baron buff giving you so much control over the map as Afrika. How do you set up the engage? How do you set up the combo? You just can't from behind, not realistically at this point. And we talked about how Leo could be vulnerable in this game. Not so much, not anymore when you have the tank of Dread to prevent anybody from getting on top of him. His positioning has been so good. And for Nongshim, the health bars can go low, but they need actually people to be sent to the death chamber in this game, like in this next fight. Like, they need to get 2 kills, you know, in that initial combo. Or Ziggs has to be at full health when it's over, and he needs to finish them off. Like, there's no other way this goes well for Nongshim. And if they can't even set up the engage, Afrika just win by default. Yeah. And they built such a good comp against what Nongshim drafted. The Sejuani pick was so perfect.
Yeah, it's just amazing at soaking pressure. And especially ahead, like Nongshim are going to be the ones that have a bit of an onus to set something up.
Teleport.
But, now it's Peanut. He's got Flash. He's trying to get over to the Blast Plant, and he will with his Flash. But now you've got a Diana without Flash who's down on levels and just not in a great spot, not as fed as you would like her. It's you know, just less setup now for the next fights that you potentially would want to take.
With no Flash and no stopwatch, no Zhonya's here. If you want to be really mean, like Rocket Belt still on cooldown for a few more seconds. It's very unlikely that Peanut can make a proactive play here, and he will be the one who's burst down first if he goes in. So he has to rely on another engage option. Just like last time, if Ori can actually set up the ult first and Peanut can follow, maybe that's your best bet. But Afrika know about these shortcomings, and they're going to look for Soul Point here. Nice.
See how it goes. They got some vision up north, but that's about it. I like how Jonah Strong is just showing, like, okay, everything's being denied right now. They don't even know where everybody is, as they can see them now. Kellen in the pit. But total lockdown here from Afrika, and they're not rushing anything. They're just poking down. Varus can do what the Ziggs does, you know, with that lethality.
Yeah, Duckdom needs to stay alive. It's so important in this upcoming fight. Kellen's caught!
Yeah, they're going to find him again, and that's a dead Leona. And that's one more tool that's gone, and it's 4v5 now. So Nongshim, they don't want any piece of this. They just walk away, and Afrika are almost 10,000 gold ahead.
And you mentioned it, you know, the Mountain Soul is so important in this game. Whether it was Mountain or Cloud, but the Mountain is going to be fantastic at surviving through that initial damage. Afrika are looking to push an inhibitor right now. They might even get more here.
Yeah, they're just going to go for the engage. It's Peanut. No flash for him, and he just gets heartbroken. As down he will go, and Afrika are looking for this. They're going to take the inhibitor and back, as they do not have Baron, and they won't overstay with the Baron about to spawn.
Yeah, they could just reset, set up for that. There's no vision whatsoever right now for Nongshim, so if Afrika get out here in a timely fashion, it's difficult for Nongshim to actually play around that. As Dread is being very greedy here, but is going to draw a lot of the attention away. Should buy a lot of time for his teammates to back, and he'll get out. But this is a very scary moment for Nongshim, where you suddenly realize with this composition, you can't fly with broken wings, basically. They're so far behind that you're just unable to set up the combo. You don't have vision. The observers showcased in this moment that they were blind. Like, you have to walk so far forward to get enough vision. Like, that's why the ult looks a little bit poor here. That's why Kellen is where he is on the map. He's like, I'm looking for Diana. I'm looking for Diana. Boom, Heart breaks in. That's a pick. That's an inhibitor. And, I mean, when you don't have any control over the map, how can you flank as Peanut? You can't, especially when you don't have Flash, you don't have a stopwatch.
That was also Keen's 8th kill in his 400th career LCK game. Started off not so fun for the Viego. He got solo killed by Rich, and then he got dove 3v2 on the top side. I believe he was 0-2 to start this entire game. And now he has totally turned it around with 8 kills in a row, as has his team, of course. Rich, he just says, well, I mean, we're down so far, we might as well just try to split push. As the round warp comes in, they say we absolutely have the damage to just burst down the Baron, and Nongshim
have no vision whatsoever. Yeah. This ward is disabled, and that is a Baron buff that goes over to a team that has such an insurmountable lead at this stage. I mean, as Nongshim, you really need a stopwatch for Diana, but you just can't get one. There's the Zhonya's finally purchased here. He finally was able to save up enough for that one, because that's going to be the big item that Nongshim need to win this fight. Duckdom also, you know, upgrades his Seraphs. That's going to be huge. Like, this is a big spike for Nongshim. They should have hit a long time ago, but they fell so far behind. They weren't able to do so. There's one chance for Nongshim to win a big fight. Get that wombo combo. Ziggs does the final damage. You get a team wipe. You could win the game. Like, it's still winnable. That's how this comp works. You can actually just steal a game away with it. But Afrika have played so well around it that I don't trust it's going to happen. I can't see it happening. I can't imagine a world in which Afrika give Nongshim those opportunities. They just stay grouped up. They push together with the Baron buff. They've got vision removed here on this side of the map. how do you set up for anything here? I mean, look, Gory's pushing top.
Keen is unbelievably fed too, so it's the easiest 4-1 that you've ever seen, right? I mean, you have some decent siege with the Varus. You just keep the minions Baron buff. You let Leo poke a bit. If anyone oversteps their boundaries, you can engage onto them. And you just take it slow, and you let Keen, with his unbelievable pressure in the one-person lane, just do his thing. And eventually, maybe 2 people will have to go over there. And looking at this inhibitor, you see Duck Dom, he's on a little bit of a timer. It's a resource as well, obviously the mana. He's just trying to clear these waves as well as he possibly can. But eventually he will run out. See how long they can keep up this wave clear.
Trying to hold on for 70 more seconds here, Nongshim. Then they have an opportunity to try to wrestle some of that map control. The timing of this is so perfect for Afrika because they can just walk away and grab the Mountain Soul. So as Nongshim, you really need to make an aggressive play, but you don't have opportunities to. That's why Afrika are playing this so well. And again, this is somewhat uncharacteristically great late-game macro play from Afrika. That's a terrifying thing. Gory is hoping for a knock-up here, hoping for maybe a setup. Maybe Rich could then flank with a Vanguard's angle, or edge angle, but it's not to happen yet.
Yeah, Nongshim getting more confident. Even though Afrika still with the Baron buff, they weren't really able to break open the base, and it's mainly just because Ziggs exists as a champion and they're not taking any chances, right? They could have tried to go for some kind of dive onto the turret, especially with the turret under half health, but with Mountain Soul on the line, they do not want to take that risk, and so they'll just wait for this one.
Complete
no
whiff.
Damage, yeah.
No vision here.
Leona's got a better angle here. They're trying to burst down Leo, but they can't quite follow up. He just blasts away, and the Moonfall is just, it's nothing. The Yasuo trying to do some damage, but it's not quite enough, and now Fly on the backside with the Rise just nukes everybody down, and that's gonna be it. The ace comes in, and it was a foregone conclusion. Afrika stay clean till the end, and they will pick up game 1.
Very great start here for Afrika Freaks, a completely different look for them, one that we've been seeing a little bit more of towards the end of regular season. But to win this game against this composition Nongshim are so practiced with, they came prepared. The Sejuani pick was great for this. They handled the early game where they were behind extremely well, positioned extremely well when they were ahead, controlled